September 2012, I go to Sony Studios and I film my pitch. People don't know this. You see 8 minutes of Shark Tank. Those pitches take an hour and a half. They grilled me like you have no idea. You don't have a piece of paper, you have nothing. I was the only guy in 16 years of Shark Tank to ever work both sides. And now, it's been 10 years. Loving what you do is you can't excel if you don't love what you do. And, for me, it was all about, I grew up a theater major. I had no formal business training whatsoever. But my why has always been, I want to make you feel good. I want to get a reaction. And I love the close. But it's not the close, I got the money. It's the close that, I wanted something, I got it. So what's luck? Being at the right place, at the right time. But you got to open your mouth.
Welcome to the show, Morri.
Thank you, Jeff.
So excited.
We're happy to be here.
Yes, excited. We finally get to sit down, and outside of hanging out, we get to get you on the show, get into the life and story of you, because you have quite the background. And most people probably know you from Shark Tank. Yep. And we actually have a fun clip that Andrew's going to play, because if you're a Shark Tank fan, you will absolutely remember this.
You get the best of both worlds with the Hanukkah tree topper. Together, I know we can take the Hanukkah tree topper to the next level and make lots of shekels doing it. So what do you say? This holiday, let's reach for the star and sell like sugar.
Yes.
I had less gray hair, very strange hat on, but that was an amazing moment.
Yeah, and what I love about it is so many people who are entrepreneurs, want to be entrepreneurs, maybe they were working a full-time job, which you were prior to this moment. They either don't have the idea or they think they're defined by the idea. And what I know about you, well, that idea got you on a Shark Tank, and how you got there through, I believe it was Richard Branson.
No, actually. Richard Branson was responsible for me taking the idea from idea to market.
Got it.
But no, I auditioned for Shark Tank.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean you. I meant the idea that led you to build the company came from Richard Branson, and it was actually you saying yes to an opportunity.
Correct.
And
Correct.
I would love to.
Yeah, so first of all, the inspiration behind the product, like many entrepreneurs, is, solve a problem in my own home. At the time I was married to a woman that was of mixed faith. I grew up Jewish. And for years and years and years, she wanted Christmas in the home. And I was like, heck no, not going to happen. Well, 10 years in, I finally, let my hard head give in a little bit. And I said, all right, fine. But just don't go overboard. Like, I can't walk into my living room and see baby Jesus. No offense to any people that are Christian, but I just, couldn't do that. So one day, I'll never forget this day. Comes in, she says, stay in your office. I go, okay. And I hear all this rustling going on downstairs. Finally, about an hour later, she says, okay, come down. I walk down, and on my dining room table is about a 3-foot tall Christmas tree with blue and silver garland and decorations and glitter and tinsel, dreidels and menorahs, happy Hanukkah wrapping paper everywhere, all this cool stuff. It was adorable. But on the top of the tree was a 5-pointed star. And I literally joked. I said, what, you couldn't find a Jewish star to put on top of the tree? She said, I actually looked for one and I couldn't find one. I'm like, I'm Mr. Internet. I've been, selling on e-commerce in one way or another since 1994. I'll find it. Believe it or not, I went on mysimon.com. You're probably too young to remember that. But couldn't find one. I found all these pictures of ones made out of like popsicle sticks or tinfoil. And I was like, there's no way it's not out there. I started looking a little bit more. Started saying, okay, what does this market look like? And I found a study, and it was the National Jewish Survey that was done in, I can't remember what year, 2000, let's say. And it said that 50% of Jewish marriages in the last 15 years have been to another faith. And of that, 90% are of the Christian faith. I'm like, wait a minute. Now I start really dialing, my consumer head is going on. I came from corporate. I, did this kind of data analysis. And I said, wait a minute, there's 1.5 million households in the U.S., just like mine. And this product doesn't exist. Wait a minute. Could this actually be a product? ended up patenting it, trademarking it, called the Hanukkah tree topper, ended up selling over 500,000 units out of my garage while I had a full-time job.
That's incredible. But what actually led you to go to China and make it happen?
So,
Because ideas are abundant. The world is filled with ideas in people's heads.
yeah.
They have all of the plans, but they don't take that next step.
So, I'd never done anything like this in my life. I was in e-commerce and life sciences, vitamin supplements for my entire career, software. And, first thing was how do I even get this out of my head? I'm not a graphic guy. I'm not a patent attorney. And I ended up finding two people from my previous life that I gave sweat to, and they partnered with me. And that was the first pitch. That was the most important pitch, was getting people to jump on my bus.
Yeah.
Why the hell should they believe in me, right? So once I got it to that point, I literally had a flyer, and I had an amazing graphic artist who created this amazing rendering and this flyer, and that's all I had was a piece of paper with this idea. I start scrolling on Twitter, 2006-ish, right? And one of the first people I follow on Twitter is Richard Branson. And I see that he's announcing something called Pitch TV. And there's a little video and says, I'm going to give fellow budding entrepreneurs an opportunity. For the 25th anniversary of Virgin Atlantic, I'm going to let entrepreneurs put out a video, throw it out into the world, see if people vote on it. And if they do, they're going to be on all the in-flight entertainment for 1 month, pitching their product. And whoever sees it, sees it. I'm like, that's a hell of an opportunity. This is, well before Shark Tank was huge and all this stuff. And I said, what the hell? I sat there. I had a mini DV camera. The thing was like this big. I remember putting it, I'm sitting at my desk, the monitor's here. I didn't have a tripod. I didn't have anything, man. And I literally put my camera on a big candle that I was given that I never used. And I filmed myself doing a quick pitch with this little flyer. Or you know what? I uploaded it, got voted on. I got picked to be in the first ever episode of Pitch TV. If you still Google it today, you'll find a YouTube link out there. So now I've got Richard Branson.
But without a product.
No product.
You pitched the
I
concept.
pitched the concept. Now it was alady patent pending.
Sure.
So I knew that
But you weren't holding it.
Heck no, I was holding a piece of paper. Literally a piece of paper with a rendering. That was all I had. And then, because I was working a full-time job, I was busy, married, kids, whatever. And then now I get picked to be on this show, and you've got this video for a month where Richard Branson is saying, I'm going to introduce you to Pitch TV, but let's show you our first entrepreneur. I'd never met the man. But all of a sudden now, it goes from Richard Branson to me. I got cred. It's now or never. I got to do it. And that was the end of sleep, and I got it done.
And you didn't quit your job.
Nope.
You did both.
Yeah.
You're still a parent.
Yeah.
Still a husband.
Yeah. I had a mortgage.
So
school.
you decided to do what? Because this is now, I know a lot of people are going, okay, amazing. The opportunity was there. You're scared shitless. What do you do, and how do you actually move forward? Now, it's a little easier today with the YouTubes and all the information available, but to your point, Shark Tank wasn't big. This stuff didn't exist. So how did you figure out what I need to do to build this product that doesn't exist and get this thing from a piece of paper to something tangible?
OPM. Other people's manufacturing, other people's marketing, other people's mind power, other people's mistakes. Strategic partnerships.
Yep.
I partnered with an incredible graphic artist, partnered with an incredible patent attorney, reached out to all my family who I knew was in the manufacturing business, learned what injection molding was, learned what all this stuff was, and before you know it, I threw it up on Amazon, and the gates opened. I had no idea, and boy, did I make some mistakes, and some mistakes were almost unrecoverable.
Sure.
So I was dealing with China. I found a person that a family member had worked with who was basically an American based in Hong Kong, whose sole purpose was to partner inventors / brands with manufacturers and factories in China. I tried to do it here in the U.S. It was 9 times the price. I mean, there was no freaking way. The mold alone would have cost me $25,000 compared to $5,000, and the finished product would have been, $15 versus $2. So there was no way. I had to go that
Cost
route.
prohibitive in America.
Yeah. But, once I got to that point, I was like, okay, now I'm starting to see samples. Now let me kind of walk you through the timeline here. So by the time I had the idea in '05, patent was issued in '08.
Okay.
Right? And it was a design patent. Who cares? But I had the patent for a Jewish star on top of a Christmas tree. And I decided that I was going to throw it up, again, rendering only. Did not have physical product yet. I threw up a photo on Amazon in October 2010. And I had done a lot of e-commerce in my previous life, so I kind of knew what I was doing. But one thing I didn't really realize is you weren't supposed to put something on Amazon that you didn't have in stock.
You mean it's not Kickstarter yet?
So I put it up in October, and I do this whole write-up, and I basically say that I will guarantee that this product will arrive at your home before the first night of Hanukkah, which that year was, I'm going to guess, I don't know, it's like December 11th, let's call it. My samples looked amazing. My first run looked amazing, okay? Then I get to manufacturing. So before you know it, I get over 10,000 orders for the Hanukkah tree topper. 10,000.
Unbelievable.
I don't have one unit, okay? Now, I'm feverishly working a full-time job selling software. I'm trying to figure out, how to get this thing done, and they say, okay, we're good. We built it. We're shipping it. Gets on the boat, right? Ships from China sometime in November. Now, I gave everybody the guarantee that it would get there. I charged them, whatever it was, $5 shipping and handling. And I had my garage spec'd out. I mean, I had FedEx small boxes from floor to ceiling. I had everything, all the paperwork, everything ready to go, right? December 5th rolls around. Thank goodness, after 3 days stuck in customs, these massive pallets come onto my driveway, right? And I've got a crew, and everybody's pumping, ready to go. I got everything happening. I open up these boxes. Now, first and foremost, think about the timeline. December 10th is Hanukkah. I promised everybody it would get there. I did ground shipping for $2.50 or whatever the heck it was. Now I gotta
2 day. Now you're paying 2 or 3 day.
Is what it is. I start pulling these units out. Now, it was a pretty simple design at that point in time. It was 2 silver half stars that come together with a little cone that goes in, a little bit of glue, and a blister pack, right? I start pulling these things out, and I start putting them in boxes, putting them back. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to hear all this rattling going on. What the heck's going on? To make a long story short, probably about 75% failure. Stars were coming apart, cones were coming out. It was a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. I spent the next 2 days with a hot glue gun and 10 people, friends, family, kids, anybody, fixing as many of these things that I possibly could. The glue that was basically used was just failing, and these stars were coming apart and the thing was falling out. I thought it was done. I fixed as many as I could. I got them all on a FedEx truck. I upgraded everybody to 2 day shipping on me, which cost like $20 a unit. I went upstairs and I wrote a letter, and I figured out how to get through the Amazon system by emailing people direct because you don't get access.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did you?
You download the BS email addresses. I started sending out batches, and I sent out an email to 10,000 people, and I basically said, "Thank you so much for being one of the first customers of the Hanukkah tree topper. So pleased, really appreciate it. We had some issues with manufacturing. We had failures. This is our first run. I'm so sorry if you get a unit that's damaged. If it is damaged, this is how you fix it. If you don't want to fix it and you just want your money back, please don't even worry about sending it back. Just email me and I'll take care of it for you. No problems, no questions asked." Out of 10,000 customers, how many people do you think said, "I want my money back"?
Well, 40%.
10 people.
Wow.
But you know what I did get? Over 1,000 letters of praise, over 3,000 pictures of people's tree with my topper on it, which became my Facebook page.
That's incredible.
And my Smithsonian, right? And probably about 2,000 people who said, "Thank you so much. This is everything we've been looking for. We're rooting for you. When you have the next run figured out, let us know. We'll buy it again.
That's amazing.
And that was the beginning.
And you led, actually, you turned a firestorm, and you led with sincerity and honesty, and you were vulnerable about it, and you were willing to refund them. And so many times, bad situations like that can be turned into a home run win versus no interaction. Had you lied and said, oh, whatever, and sorry, but not really, and tried to dance and skirt, you probably would have had 2,000 one-star reviews, a bunch of returns, and that's just who you are.
Well, and it's also what I learned early. You know, I was an early e-commerce adopter. I had an e-commerce site that I built in 94, which I sold in 98, pre-internet, Prodigy, CompuServe, AOL. And I knew one thing: service is everything. And sometimes the best products come out of problems. The best products come out of customer complaints. You know, if you're not one-on-one with your customer, forget it. They're everything.
Yeah.
So I knew, you know, and I didn't care about the money. It's the first business that I truly didn't care about the money. I cared about, will I be instilling a good moment into somebody's home during the holidays? Or will I be the person that ruined their holidays?
Right.
Because they waited until, you know, they had something that they wanted and now they didn't have anything and they had to make it out of popsicle sticks. And so I felt like crap that I was delivering, you know, a product that wasn't at a standard. And so I just decided I'm going to take it on the chin and I'm going to eat the money to make sure it gets there on time. And I'm going to, you know,
so you made no
send
money.
a personal nothing.
You lost money. Yeah.
Lost money.
I mean, 2 days shipping, I'm sure that ate up the entire margin.
Completely.
But what happens next?
So, you know, get this incredible wave of praise, an incredible social media following, all this stuff. Then the next year I said, all right, well, now I'm going to put my, you know, brick and mortar hat on and I'm going to go out and start selling this thing. And, you know, tried here and there, didn't, you know, get anywhere, went to a few places, got in some boutiques. And then I hear about this show called Shark Tank. And this was 2011. Shark Tank was filming season 4. And they had an audition process where you could audition online. And, you know, the numbers of Shark Tank are this: 60,000 people apply every year. From that, 2,500 get asked to do what's called a video audition. From that, 900 get to come to the set and film what's called pre-pitch, where you pitch to just the producers, not the sharks. From the 900, 200 get asked to come back and film for real. And from the 200, only 120 actually air. So 120 out of 60,000 every year, right? You could be on there, make a deal, film your whole family, it never airs.
Yeah.
Yes. So I said, well, you know, sounds kind of interesting. Let's try it out. So I get to the video round. I do my whole pitch. Everything's great. And I do this like kind of serious, it was good, but it wasn't me. You know, I came from a theater background. I mean, I'm an entertainer. And then we got to that stage and they said, we like you, but why don't you come back next year when you have a little bit more activity? At the time, I just had online, nothing else, you know, maybe whatever, 20,000 orders at the time. And so I put my hat on and I went out. And I went out to Bed Bath & Beyond, and I went out to Home Depot, and I went out to Toys R Us and Walmart, and I got it in stores that next year. 2012 rolls around. I'm watching all the news, and Shark Tank is coming to Burbank, and I was living in San Diego. Live auditions. I looked at my wife, I said, I'm going to go for it. She says, are you kidding me? Why are you going to do this to yourself again? You were so let down. Why are you going to do this again? I said, I won't live with myself if I don't try. And so I got in my car. They said, come early. Audition started at 11 a.m. I got there at 4 in the morning, freezing cold day in Burbank, sitting on a curb. Finally, they let me in. I was number 100 in line. They only accepted 500 people. And I go in and I do my 30-second pitch to 2 casting people. There's 5 tables. I'm in the room with all these other people, and I let loose with the most stereotypical Yiddish accent, screaming and shouting about the benefits of matzah and kugel and interfaith and whatever. Everybody's looking at me like I'm nuts. But while I'm pitching, I was throwing out the details: margin, number of doors, market size, consumer acquisition, all these things. And at the very end, I stop my whole accent and I'd say, thank you very much. And they're like, whoa, 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 come back here. And to make a long story short, then you go through you have to do the video, and I almost didn't get it. And then finally I made it. And, September 2012, I go to Sony Studios and I film my pitch.
What I love most about your Shark Tank story, and most people know you from Shark Tank, is that's not the definition of entrepreneurship. It's an entrepreneurship opportunity. You saw a problem, you created a product, turned it into a company, found a way to get acquisition of customer and investors through the Shark Tank platform. Brilliant. But why I love you so much, and I think there's so much to learn from how you approached the world, is you understood because of the deal you did. It was a licensing deal. Now what? Because at that moment, you're no longer involved. For those who remember, you tried to raise money as an investor. It ended up being a licensing deal. So now you have to wake up the next day, and yeah, you'll be getting mailbox money, but what do you do? And you being you realized that the product was never a Hanukkah topper. The product has always been you.
Yep.
And
it always is you.
It always is you. People don't invest in products. Real investors invest in people.
100%.
You bet the jockey, not the horse. And in entrepreneurship, why it's such a high failure rate is people forget that it's the person behind whatever product, service, or company it is that is going to make or break it. It's not the idea. A bad operator can ruin a multi-billion-dollar idea, and a great operator can take a bad idea and turn it into something. And I believe, if I can fix the quote if I'm not there, the jokes have been made that, the Hanukkah topper, it's a cute product, but it's not the next Instagram or Facebook. I mean, it's not.
What?
It's not. I mean, how many did you sell? 7, 8? No, I'm kidding. But it's a good product. But it's like you said, it's a one-time product.
It's
not
one time
an
to a
ongoing
very
company.
small market, and you buy one and you're done.
It's not an ongoing company. It was a brilliant idea. You capitalized, you saw it, and you took action, which we can all
Jeff,
learn
you have
from.
no idea how lucky I was that they wanted to film a holiday episode, and it was just cute, and they just liked me and
You're an entertainer.
Yeah.
And so you got the platform. But what you did next is actually what I love about you the most. And most people don't know this.
Yeah.
You recognized that through that access, through the relationship capital you were able to develop, you could actually build another company that has legs beyond any product or service, is never tied to a niche or a moment in time or seasonality, and it will allow you to build generational wealth, open doors, create life experience for yourself. And this is what I hope everyone at home is really understanding, because a lot of people don't have ideas. They're like, I'm waiting for my idea. And I speak to colleges around the country and college kids, and they're always like, I'm trying to figure out what my idea is going to be because I want to be an entrepreneur. The idea is not important. It's how you approach it. And so I don't want to give it away because the way you tell it's going to be so much better. But you are now partners with Damon John outside of your product. You handle biz dev for him at a level across the country, and you handle a lot of the sales. You travel with him. You guys are best friends. Your families hang out.
Yep.
And it's not because of a Hanukkah topper. And so for the audience, please share that, how you identified that and how you navigated that to create this opportunity that you are now walking and living.
So a lot of people think I'm full of shit when I tell them that in my head, if I was one of those lucky 100 people out of 60,000, that I was going to do something with that lottery ticket that was bigger than, Now, I will say where I was a little bit different was that it was my side hustle. It was a project that I was doing just out of passion and love, but I was working a full-time job selling enterprise software at the time, But they say you can't hit a target you can't see. I could care less whether I got funding for a tree topper. It was all about, how do I get into this world of those moguls, right? Now, I'd done my homework, right? I'm like, all right, well, I know Mark Cuban's Jewish, Lori's like QVC, Robert, Kevin, Damon. Never in a million years. And all 4 sharks went out, except for Damon. And they all said the same thing. They're like, this is your only business? People don't know this. You see 8 minutes of Shark Tank. Those pitches take an hour and a half. They grilled me like you have no idea. You don't have a piece of paper. You have nothing. But I knew my shit. Yep. And I knew my shit, and I was person one, fun, and whatever. And so then Damon makes the deal. I mean, and I would have given him 100% of my company for zero, just to be in the room, right? After the show, you don't get to meet with him, nothing. You get his staff. Maybe you get it, whatever. And, I knew it wasn't a business he was crazy about. He said, maybe we license, whatever, fine. And so he did. So the way it happened was about 2 months later, I'm in New York City, and I called his person who I had connected with because I was there on other business. And I said, hey, I'm just in the area. I'd love to see you. Well, actually, Damon's in the office. He wants to sit down with you. Okay. Come to the Empire State Building. So here's little Morri, in nice suit and tie, walks over to the Empire State Building. He's got the entire 65th floor or whatever it was. Massive FUBU sign. I walk in, and there's a dude sitting as the executive assistant or whatever. Guy's like 300 pounds, just like, yeah, what do you want? I'm like, oh my God, where am I? And so I sit down with Damon. He calls me in, and we have the first meeting where we just get to know each other. He's like, all right, man, I dig your story. I dig you. He says, Morri, I'm going to be honest with you. This is not a business for me. He says, I like you. If you're willing to license it, I'll help you license it. I'll give you the licensing agent, the lawyer, whatever. You keep all the royalties. I'm not going to give you the investment. Like, done. So we do that. 1 year later, I get an update on Shark Tank, of the deal. So I get double exposure, right? Still nothing. I'm still working my job,
Have you made any real money from the licensing?
I mean, you mean today?
No, at that point.
No, not much. I mean, it was 10%.
Yeah.
You get what you get. I was making much more before, but I was also having to front the product development and the sales and do all the fulfillment. I was a one-man show. I was doing it in my garage.
Yep.
So
you're getting some checks.
Yeah. So he does the licensing deal. And then he's like, all right, well, we'll just see what happens. Okay. That's when the light bulb went off. It was like, it's not enough. It's not enough. I'm not going back to, I got to do something more. So I learned early in life, you may not know, I grew up with a lot of privilege. I grew up quite wealthy around a lot of amazing people. And then when I was 17, my dad unfortunately lost his fortune. So I had to learn, how to bring it back up. But I also knew in my early life how to be around and act around people of high net worth and high visibility and read the signs. Mm-hmm. People do business with people they like. I don't care how great the business is. If I don't like you, I don't want to be in business with you. I don't want to sit next to you for 8 hours a day.
Yep.
So for the next year, I took every opportunity that Damon gave me to just be in the room. And it wasn't a lot of opportunities. I'd call, he wouldn't call back. I'll never forget this moment. I'll digress for just a sec. My son, who was 10, comes into my office one day. And he's like, Dad, why do you look so down? I said, I was supposed to have a meeting with Damon, but he flaked on me. He's like, Dad, Damon's a busy guy. You're lucky that you even get to talk to him. I went, whiz him that little kid spit. And so I would just be present. And I would start to do little favors for him. I knew he had an energy drink that he just did a deal with. I said, hey, Damon, you want me to help you get that into Whole Foods? He says, Whole Foods? Like, don't you sell tree toppers? I go, I do other things. My life sciences background. He had another business. I never asked for anything. Got it in. He said, he was telling me about this new business. I said, you want me to write you up a business plan for this? He's like, don't you sell tree toppers? Did that for him. Never asked for a thing. And then the moment came. I went to see one of his keynotes. He's one of the most prolific keynote speakers out there, like top 3 in the country, probably top 10 in the world. And I think it was Johnson & Johnson. I go there and I see him on stage. He's got this amazing one-man play kind of keynote where he tells his whole story, and he's got a DJ who does the music and the sound, and it's like the whole room is popping, 3,000 people, right? But you know what I see? I see the front row, C-suite of J&J. And he is done, and he shakes a couple of hands and walks away. It's like, wait, don't you have a marketing agency, branding firm? Don't you want to be the face of, what's happening with these people in the front row? Well, no, I don't want to really be sales. I said, Damon, I have some biz dev. Don't you sell tree toppers? I'm like, oh my God. I said, would you give me a shot? He goes, what are you talking about? I said, let me roll with you. He says, don't you have a job? I go, I do. I said, I work remotely, crushing my number. It's going to be fine. Let me just do this. And so I traveled with him for 6 months, going to all of his speaking events. And while he was doing his thing, I was doing my thing. People in my life were like, dude, you're crazy. You're going to get in trouble here. My CEO at the time was starting to like troll social media, and he saw Damon posting me. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, everything's cool. Still killing my number. And my ex-wife at the time, I was married at the time, I'm not married now. She's like, you're going to get fired. I got to do this. I got to do this. When do you ever get an opportunity like this? 6 months go by.
And to be clear, when you said do your thing, what you were going to do was take the bug light of Damon John and the proximity of what he's doing on stage, go to that C-suite in the front row, handle business development, find opportunities for Damon that he didn't have the time or desire or ability to see because he's up there performing.
Correct. But he had a company. He had
lots of companies.
He had the Shark Group, which he still has today, which is his own sort of branding and marketing firm that handles his entire world, from Shark Tank to activations to his books to his speaking, everything. I was bringing new business opportunities to the company. So 6 months go by, and he sits me down. He says, I want to have a talk with you. Okay. And this is how the conversation goes verbatim. He looks me in the eye. I'll never forget this. He says, I don't understand you. Waiting for a pin to drop, nothing. He says, you annoy the living shit out of me. I'm really uncomfortable. I'm looking for the exit. And he says, but in the last 6 months, you just brought in more incremental revenue to my company of 40 that 40 people combined haven't done in 4 years. So quit your goddamn job and get over here. And that's how it started. I became his head of sales. I ended up becoming his head of retail. I got all his Shark Tank partnerships into partnerships. I was the only guy to this day, 16 years of Shark Tank, to ever work both sides. And now, it's been 10 years. And, I travel with him. I go to gigs. We formed, tons of partnerships, made millions together.
Yep.
And it all became because of that one moment. And, there's a beautiful, there's a, in Hebrew, there's the word mazel tov, which, mazel is the word for luck. And in Hebrew, each letter kind of has a meaning, and combine those 3 letters, or has a meaning of the word. Well, the M in mazel has some meaning, I don't know exactly what it is, of like a home or a building. The Z has some meaning of either a watch or a clock, and the L has some meaning towards a mouth. So what's luck? Being at the right place at the right time, but you got to open your mouth. And that's what it's been all about. It's just finding those opportunities and going for them and doing what you love.
Yes.
And I love what I do.
And I think the lesson is clear, but I want everyone to think about their own life, because they all have those moments where I almost got on a Shark Tank, and if I would, well, that happened to you. And what did you do? You reapplied the next year.
Exactly.
And then I got on a Shark Tank and I got a deal, but it fell through. He didn't give me the money. Well, think about your experience of your version of that. And did you quit? No, you said yes. And then a year or two goes by and there's not enough coming from it, but you found ways to be helpful because you wanted to be in the room and be around them, because proximity of high net worth business people making moves gives you the ability to do it and exposes you to opportunity that you wouldn't have had. Finally, you get you get into those rooms, and then you identify, because luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Mm-hmm. And the challenge is, I'll add one more, because I think where a lot of people miss is they don't recognize when that opportunity is there. They think they're prepared, but they don't see the opportunity. Your opportunity wasn't tree toppers. Your opportunity was, you're a sales guy, an entertainer, you understand biz dev, and you're around these people and there's an opportunity. You saw it and you capitalized, which means you created your own company, which isn't a product or service that's, available to everybody, but it was built off of that and recognizing of it. And I think for all of us, as we think about our lives, if you don't have a product yet, and you're trying to figure out how to create your own life and make that generational wealth and be your own boss, there are so many ways you can do it. You have to take your own skills and your own passions and what you love to do, and you have to be tenacious. And to your point, you have to be in the right place. You have to open your mouth, and you have to take action. And that's one of the things I love the most about you is you are an action taker. And since I've known you, that's basically been what it's all about.
And, you got to do what you got to do. In other words, when I had my idea, I didn't quit my job to do it. I didn't sleep. And, I had income that was regular, that afforded me the ability to do it. When COVID hit, and Damon's like, we got to make a change. I went and I became an employee for 3 years. Who gives a shit? I had to do what I had to do. But I will say this. I've had one job in my life that I hated, and it lasted a week. I think loving what you do is so important. You can't excel if you don't love what you do. And, for me, it was all about, I grew up a theater major. I had no formal business training whatsoever. But my why has always been, I want to make you feel good. I want to get a reaction. And I love the clothes, but it's not the clothes, I got the money. It's the clothes that, I wanted something, I got it. And I used my ingenuity and I figured out, there's no direct path. It's like the Jews wandering in the desert for 40 years going zigzag because, they could have gone straight, but there was a reason they didn't. And my entire career, my entire journey has been, a bunch of zigzags and weird things. I mean, how did I get involved in an e-commerce company in 1994? I mean, I wasn't looking for that, but I saw an interesting opportunity. I saw this weird, what do you mean I could buy something off the computer? What the hell's that? Modems were still making noises. But it was that. And then we sold that company. And then I get a call from a massive pharma company that wants to hire me. Okay? Another category I've never been involved. Let me go do that for 10 years and get these connections. One of the biggest things that I hear Gary Vee talk about all the time, patience. Everybody wants it right now. You know how long it took me? How long it took me to build to the point where I am now, where I can, where I can choose to work with who I want to work with rather than who I have to work with. My son asked me a couple of years ago, he's like, how come you don't have any friends, Dad? I go, what are you talking about? I have friends. He's like, you never hang out with the neighbors, going out, having a drink. I said, I work with my friends all day, every day. Those are my friends. That's my family. What better way to have a business than, it's a, friendship with a piece of paper.
Of course.
That's what it's all about.
Well, and you kind of mentioned it, but part of this whole journey is understanding what are your skills that you love to do. Because when you say, and this is, I hear a lot of this, like, I don't love what I do. They're thinking about the job, not the skills they get to deploy. And I think that it's important because it's hard to always love the actual day-to-day mundaneness of most tasks. Repeatable things over and over again. Yeah, okay. We don't all get to always love it. I don't love every element of what I do. But you said it. You love the pursuit of whatever this deal is going to be, being able to use your creative brain, build relationships, navigate, not sure how it's going to get there, figure it out, get a close, and make everybody happy. That's what you love. So whether it's in, healthcare or e-commerce or Shark Tank products or stages or whatever it is, as long as you are deploying those skills that you love to deploy, you love what you do.
And for me, it's really about leading with giving. And I can't tell you how many doors have opened because I've just been willing to do favors. Now, I will say there comes a point where you say, all right, you want to pick my brain, it's going to cost you.
Sure.
And now I'm getting paid to consult and be on stages. But for a long time, I wasn't. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm worth it. But the do what you love doesn't necessarily mean, sit there and write an Excel spreadsheet and love doing it, because I hate that shit. But the act of giving, the act of being of service, the act of nurturing, the act of empathy is what I love. And that's what I live and breathe every single day. From the moment I wake up with a smile on my damn face every fucking day, Jeff, because I get to do this stuff.
And I can vouch, because the days since I've known you, you've only done that with me.
Yeah.
And now we are doing a bunch together. A lot to come out soon. But I mean, really, like, you have done those things, and you've always led with value.
Always.
And it's one of the chapters of my book. It's what I believe in with relationships, and so that's why I'm so attracted to you as a friend, because
this is a friend.
Well, this is a friend.
All right, good.
Yeah, I'm happily married.
Yeah, I got a great relationship. Sorry.
But you are that, and it is so attractive, and you don't have the, well, I'm going to do this, but what's in it for me? Because that scarcity mindset, to people who you want to be around, that is actually it's almost like a wall that you feel. There's a different emotional connection that isn't created when it's a ledger. What is in it for me? My expectation. Before I introduce you or bring this to you, what do I get? How am I getting compensated? And I understand why some people have to do that, because they believe that without it, they won't make any money. But if you really want to be with the big players, the Damon Johns, the ones who can change your life and open doors that, the Gary V's, you've got to be willing to do favors, to get him into Whole Foods with his energy drink and not care that there's no immediate return. That's where the patience comes in. You have to believe that what you're doing is you're building goodwill. Because in the dichotomy of your relationship, Damon doesn't have a, air quote, need for Morri yet, because you haven't shown him what you bring in value, and he's at a different stage in his career. So where you are, you have to meet people where they are. And in order to meet a guy like Damon or to meet you now, there has to be a value. And so if I wanted to meet you and I was a young kid and I'm like, oh my gosh, Morri's been on Shark Tank, he works with Damon John, he's the business guy, he knows everybody. How can I help Morri and make myself invaluable to Morri, where even if I am the most annoying person in the world, I can bring in more business than your entire staff.
And you hit the nail on the head. I get people hitting me up all the time because Damon puts me out there a lot. I put myself out there. And I'm mesmerized by the amount of people that come in and say, hey, I just need a few minutes of your time. I have this business. I have this, I have that. Did you even address who I am? Mm-hmm. Did you even, is this a form letter? Are you reading from a script? Did you talk about who I am as a person, what my goals are? Did you even ask how you can be of service to me? Why the hell do I need, and that's a huge element of it, is what's in it for the person you're pitching.
Yes.
There's no excuse with the amount of information out today to not have done your homework, whether it be social media, there is information out there on what is important to the person that you're pitching.
That's right.
And if you don't know that and you're just hitting somebody up going, do for me, click.
Yeah. Especially as people move further up the success ladder, because it's not that Damon John isn't a nice guy and didn't want to get to know Morri. It's the problem is at his stage in the world, as a public face, as a man of the success he's had, there's a million Morris trying to reach out to Damon John for a whole host of, disingenuous reasons, authentic reasons, good reasons, and he doesn't have the time to decipher. So the natural inclination is, I don't have time, sorry, I can't do this with you. And so they don't get that space. And you figured out by making yourself invaluable, showing value, leading with value without worrying about what's in it for you, you stood out. You became as the 100 out of 60,000.
It took a year and a half. Doesn't happen overnight.
Correct.
So I get the pleasure now of going back to Shark Tank set every year. We just actually filmed the first part of season 16 last week. And I'm the guy that now, watches all the pitches. And when he makes a deal, I get to talk to the entrepreneur. I get to give them my version, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell every one of them the same thing. I say, number one, you may not air. So keep your head on straight and run your business, because you may not air, number one. Number two, if you get to air, you realize that tens of millions of people are going to see you, right? This is a lottery ticket. How you play it, how you parlay it is up to you. Most of the deals that don't close, meaning the handshake happens, it's 6 to 9 months of due diligence, and then it goes to contract. The ones that don't close, for the most part, don't close for a few reasons. Number one, he just lied. Oh, you have $1 million due to the IRS. Why didn't you tell me? Oh, you never asked. Okay, so that's number one. Or there's just some weird problem. But you know what the main reason is that deals don't close?
Don't like each other?
You became a dick. You weren't a kind person. And I tell people all the time, I say, if your edit comes out when you see it, maybe you didn't like the way they made you look. Maybe they focused, because it's an hour and a half long, 16 cameras that they have to get into 8 perfect little minutes, okay? If they made you look like an idiot, guess what? Capitalize on being the best idiot on the planet. It's a lottery ticket. And I guarantee you, there are 60,000 people that would want to be where you are right now and would kill for it. So when those moments happen of magic, you don't be smart, be patient, and be likable. I truly think being likable is a trait people can learn.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it may not be something that everybody's born with, and you may have to work at it a little bit, but, you know, it's that business is relationship, you know, and it's going to take time, and it may not go the way you want. Find the way, okay? My last CEO at the software company used to sit me down and go, I can't stand you. I go, why? He says, because you never sell what we have to sell. I said, well, that's because the big guys aren't buying it. So I'm selling what they want. We make a new product and then we sell it to everybody. You got to be, as an entrepreneur, and you know this better than anybody, you got to be flexible. You got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to see what people don't see. And, you know, that's the key of all of it is just, you know, when you get these opportunities, you know, Damon calls me Templeton. I don't know if you remember Charlotte's Web.
Of course.
Templeton was the rat that at the end of the night would find like the quarter-eaten corn dog underneath the garbage can, which was stuck to a piece of gum. Somehow he found it, and sometimes he'd go out and sell it and, you know, buy a piece of cake. I just don't quit. Now, sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse. You know, when he said, you annoy the living shit out of me, he meant it. So I drive him nuts. But I'm the guy that gets him on the phone more than anybody else. We've had team meetings where he says, for anybody who wants to figure out how to get me on the phone, talk to this guy.
Yeah.
Because he knows how to do it. It drives me crazy, but he gets it done. So, you know, hard work, I've heard Gary say this too. Nothing beats hard work.
Yeah, I mean,
Nothing.
the quote is hard work works.
That's it.
And not quitting is one of the biggest hacks for success because it is very hard to beat someone who doesn't quit. And the greatest story of that is obviously the tortoise and the hare. Because you can be better in speed, but when you take a break, the one who doesn't quit, they never quit.
Yeah.
It's demoralizing. It's degrading. It makes you want to quit yourself because you're like, this person will not stop. So eventually it's just easier to, okay, what do you want?
Yeah.
I used to make my parents crazy when I wanted something because I would never stop.
Yeah.
And I wear them down like water on rocks until they're smooth.
And it's taking the opportunity, of course, that's important, but then follow through. You know, actually, the easiest part is meeting a high net worth individual, shaking their hand and getting their business card. You know how hard it is to get $1 to transfer from one account to another?
Well, that's the ultimate sign of completion.
You know, contracts, follow up, you know, talking to lawyers, figuring out what the product is. I mean, but, you know, the grit is what gets that done, and what stands out is be the most reliable person in the room. When I was working at a vitamin company, I was calling on Walmart at the time. We supplied over $150 million a year to Walmart. We were doing mainly private label. And I remember the buyer would always call me and ask me questions about the industry. I knew everything about the industry because, you know, first I sold vitamins during my e-commerce days, but when I got to the big company, I said, I want to spend, and nobody in sales did this. I said, I want to spend 3 weeks at the plant. I want to learn every little thing, how that big bag of powder gets into that little bottle as a pill. I want to know everything. And I sat there with the people who has, like, you know, borderline Asperger's and grooming issues, and I sat there and I learned it. And it was that knowledge that got me to be the person they called. Even though we weren't the, quote, category manager, the buyer would always call me. Why? Because she knew I wouldn't have to go find the answer. I had the answer. And if I didn't have the answer, I would get the answer very quickly. And so knowing that business, being the one that that people can depend on, it's everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's your brand? You know, do I want to be known as the fun guy? No, I want to be known as a dependable guy who I like.
Yep.
You know, who can get stuff done. So, you know, it just takes time. It takes time, you know, being in that right room. You know, I used to go to these events at, you know, CES and all these different places where they had all these marketers in one room, like, you know, chief marketing officers. And there would be these panels, right? And the panel would be done, and there was the CMO of Pepsi, or whoever it was. And no matter what, I got up, went straight to that person. I made a connection. And I'll never forget, the guy who runs the event was like, like, you don't stop. I'm like, no, well, why else am I here? Everybody else in the audience is like letting these people walk out the door. What the fuck did you pay the money for?
Yeah.
You know, be intentional, be bold. So that serves me in life. And, you know, I mean, and am I uncomfortable every time I do it? Hell yes.
But that's great.
Was my underarm sweat dripping down on my shoes when I was on the Shark Tank set? Hell yes.
But you got the results.
It's not worth it if you're not uncomfortable.
Absolutely. That's where growth happens.
Yep.
So as I said at the beginning, I mean, you're a true case study for what a real entrepreneur is, because you're going to have 7 more companies at the end of the journey, 27 more companies, businesses all over, deal flow. You are not defined by, oh, you're that guy. That's not who you are. You're the guy who does all those things. You find success, you navigate, you pivot. And so as entrepreneurs in a community of entrepreneurs, we have to remember that real entrepreneurship doesn't define you by some product, even if it is. I mean, what's the most successful Shark Tank product of all time?
Bomba socks.
Bomba socks. So
I'm on my feet right now, my man.
Always selling. The founder of Bomba, they're not just Bomba. Yes, they have a great product, but why they're successful is because of how they
It's a
approach it.
sock, Jeff.
It's a sock.
Why are they successful? Because they're not a sock company. They're
Right.
a social impact company.
There you go.
You know, they serve the homeless.
They make
bottom
you
line.
feel good by buying the socks. You're going to buy
That's it.
them anyway.
You're going to buy them
And they're cool looking. They're
they're
fun,
amazing digital marketers.
great marketing.
And they're about to hit over
And
$1
it's a
billion in
sock
revenue.
company. So if you're sitting there trying to find your idea, I would strongly encourage you to take a lot from Morri and understand who you have to be successful. And you will find that opportunity for yourself as you're navigating by leading with value, by being relentless, by having intention. I mean, I'm learning from you right now all of those qualities that make you successful. I know that if you were stripped of it all and we put you in another country, you're going to probably go to some conferences, you're going to meet some people, you're going to see who the movers and shakers are, you're going to get to know them, you're going to annoy the shit out of them, but you're going to bring value. You're going to find opportunities, you're going to create companies, you're going to create abundance, and Morri will be successful regardless.
You know, I go to probably 40 trade shows a year. Everything from cars, dessert, food, jewelry, carnival supply, car wash, doesn't matter. And I probably do over 20,000 steps a day. And I walk up and down. And why trade shows? Because everybody you want to talk to is there.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what my challenge is? If I can sell at a show where they are selling,
Shooting fish in a barrel.
I mean, no, but
After.
that's the thrill of it. Like, there's an art to that. These guys don't want to talk to me. They're selling. They're there selling. They paid $10,000 for that booth. But I'm walking up and down, and, you know, I can spot them real easy. And if there's a brand that I want to work with, I know how to do it. I walk up, I say, listen, I know you're busy selling here. Give me 30 seconds of your time. And if I can convince you in that 30 seconds to hand me over your contact information, I'll leave you alone. I'll call you in 2 weeks. And I walk away. Here's my
Fish me.
process, okay?
Yeah, here we go.
So I go up and down the trade show floor, right? I find all the brands that I want to work with. Usually there's somebody on the executive team, marketing, PR, whatever. You know, the people that are spending. I don't want to talk to the salespeople. I talk to the marketers. I walk away with a stack of business cards like this big, right? And I've written my tiny little note on each of them. You know what I do? I take a picture. I put them all out on the table. I take a picture of all of them. I send that image over to my most amazing virtual assistant that I've had for years. Her name is Susie. Love her to death. And we've actually never met in person, which is crazy. I'll say, Susie, these are the people I want appointments with. I say, I got these 3 days this week or whatever. Go. I don't know how she does it, and I don't care. She stacks my calendar with 15-minute calls with every single person. And I have those calls, and the rest is history. And it's just, you know, there is no better place. Now, does it require me to travel? Yes. Does it require me to pay for, you know, an entrance? Yes. Does it require me to walk until my feet are black and blue? Yes. You know, I did CES, the entire CES, not just one convention center, in 2 days.
Wow.
And
That's
I
a
hit
big
every
conference.
single booth I wanted.
That's a huge conference.
It's not easy.
No. It's not meant to be easy.
This is not meant. Entrepreneurship is beautiful. You get to live this amazing life. Hardest gig in the world, man.
Yeah.
Hardest gig in the world. You'll never have a normal family life, but when you bleed it and when
it is who you are.
Yeah.
All right.
You have to have those tactics to make it work.
That's right. The success formula.
Yeah.
Now, you ready for some rapid fire? We're gonna put you under the microscope.
Bring it.
Okay. You're gonna stare into camera 1.
All right.
I'm gonna ask you 3 questions.
All right. Let's bring it.
Quick answer, minute, 30 seconds or less. First thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Having been a successful founder, how much of your success do you attribute to nature versus nurture?
I have been a successful founder, and I would say that I attribute most of it to nature.
What's one piece of advice that you would give to a person with a dream that's so big, but they're intimidated to get started?
That there are entrepreneurs and there are entrepreneurs. Everybody has an idea in the shower, but if you don't get out of the shower and do what you got to do, you'll never make it. Be uncomfortable. Go for it. Yeah, that's the only way to get there.
If you were stripped of all of your success, all of your relationships, and you were dropped in the middle of a new city with nothing but yourself, what is the first thing you would do to get started or restart your career?
I would walk around and find the businesses and or the people that I wanted to aspire to be like and get to know them, because business is about strategic partnerships and relationships.
And finally, if you could have $1 million or know 100 people really well, which would you rather?
Know 100 people really well, because each of those 100 people could produce $1 million.
There you have it. Thank you for coming on the Jeff Fenster Show.
Pleasure, man.
This was
a
awesome.
blast.
I mean, I have a lot of entrepreneurs come on the show, and most of them are more defined by a different company. Their journey is a little bit different in the sense that they weren't employed as long and then had a product, and then they had to spin that off into a whole different company. And so what I love about your story, and I get inspired by it every time, is you show that there's no linear path to being an entrepreneur. There's no linear path to success. There isn't a follow these steps and you're going to win. It's who you are and how you approach the world on a daily basis and how you've overcome the obstacles, the challenges, the persistence, as well as having the patience, dealing with big personalities, letdowns, the wins, the losses, the COVIDs. And yet every year you just keep leveling up and thriving and showing that you can plow your own way and do it by being authentically you. So I want to first congratulate you for that, because it's inspiring to us all, and we can all learn from you. And I think you need to do more out there on more stages. Write a book if you don't already have one in the works, and more people need to understand and appreciate how they have some of what you have, and how they need to take that and define their life just like you have, and not be limited to say, well, I don't have this next great product, so therefore I can't be my own boss. I can't be an entrepreneur. You figured that out, and you get to work with your friends, and you get to love what you do. That is the definition of success. And so you inspire me, Morri. I'm so grateful that you came on the show and shared your story with everybody.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
For those who do want to get in touch with you, either in a business dealing, because if you have any business that you are interested in expanding, Morri is the guy to talk to, or you want him on your stages or on your podcast, or you want to just learn from him, how would you suggest they reach out to you so you can actually give them?
Yeah. So I'm on all the platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram. My handle is my first name, Morri, Morri, and my birthday, 11/11.
11/11?
Yeah, you got, now, what do you get at me? What are you getting me for my birthday?
Oh, I'm going to get you a present.
All right.
It's going to go in the phone, because that's my hack. I put notes in my phone. So on November 11th every year, I'm going to see it's your birthday. And on November 2nd of every year, I'm going to know it's your birthday's coming up.
There you go.
So I can plan.
But that's the best way to get a hold of me. And, the last thing I'll end with is I've had amazing opportunities come up and businesses that have just blown up unexpectedly. But you want to know why I got through that one and the next one and the next one and the next one? Because I did whatever it took to service those people. Make sure that if you're lucky enough to get those, those opportunities and the business comes, service it no matter what.
You heard it here.
Hey everyone. First, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And if you guys haven't heard about my new book, Relationship Bank Account, click the link in the show notes or search the title on Amazon. This book is packed with all my secrets to success in both relationships and life. Make sure to pick up a copy, and if the book helps you on your journey, let us know by leaving a review. I appreciate all of you and can't wait to see you on the next one.